Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. So I've got you guys an update on this massive winter storm system that has continued to drop inches of snow over portions of the North Central United States, and will continue to move off to the east as we're going to see another low pressure center or system start to take over this piece of energy hanging out in the East Coast, and that's going to bring more rain into the Northeast and the Mid Atlantic. All right, I've got you guys an update on all of that, as well as a big pattern change coming right up. So thank you all for joining me here on this beautiful Tuesday night here. This is the night after Christmas. All right, just wanted to show you guys this very cool sweatshirt that I got. I got the Ryan Holiall logo sweatshirt right there. So very cool to have that. All right, but we got a lot of things to talk about weather-wise, as you probably know from my previous video last night. All right, we've been talking about a big pattern change that's about to happen here, and that's going to probably get ourselves into winter, and I think we're going to start to see a lot more snowstorms start to impact the United States, and I think every region of the United States has a good shot at seeing substantial amounts of snowfall because of this upcoming pattern. So for winter weather lovers, it's going to be a great just time of the year. All right, but what's going on right now is we've got a big system here. This is your snowstorm here. I don't even know where our low pressure center is, just because we've got so many different pieces of energy flying around out here. All right, but you've got mostly your big winter storm that is still dropping a lot of snow over portions of the north central United States, and it's bring gusty winds into that region. All right. We've also got a big group of showers and thunderstorms moving their way across portions of the Mid Atlantic. This will continue to move up into the Northeast, and that will bring some more steadier and heavier rainfall into the region tonight into tomorrow. All right, and so yes, a lot of very active times are coming up. I've got a big update for you guys tonight, so maybe you want to skip ahead to the part that you're uh, trying to get the information from. Maybe either it's your forecast for your area, or it's this big pattern change coming up. So I'll put the timestamps in the video just after I finish making it. All right, I will move over to our alerts here and taking a look. You can see that starting out in the north central United States, where we have in this purple shade, this is this isn't your ice storm warning that I'm talking about. This is your purple shade, basically for the surrounding areas of those more substantial alerts. All right, that's where we have our winter weather advisory stretching from portions of northern Minnesota all the way down through northwestern Kansas. All right, and then we could also see back into northeastern Kansas, going into northwestern Missouri, and then southwestern Iowa. That's where we have a second area that's under that winter weather advisory. That's for those areas that are going to be seeing some snowfall. I think really light to moderate snowfall is what you could expect there. All right. Otherwise, it's going to be heavy, mostly back into portions of Nebraska and then northwestern Kansas and northeastern Colorado. This entire area that's just been getting dumped on with that snowfall. All right, and that's where we can see in these oranges we still have blizzard warnings. We're still seeing blizzard conditions with this system. This has just been a massive system that's just caused a bunch of chaos out here, pileups, trees down, power outages. We'll look at the power outage map. I'll set it up as we go through the video. And it's pretty crazy to see how just an ice storm, you don't really think that a snowstorm would cause power outages, but this one is certainly causing power outages, and it will continue to do so. But in this pink here, going really from western South Dakota all the way down through western Nebraska, that's where we have winter storm warnings to those areas that aren't seeing blizzard conditions just yet, or I think you guys might see blizzard conditions, but really right around just winter storm conditions, but that are hazardous enough that the National Weather Service is making the move to issue winter storm warnings. All right, so a very big area here under some concerning alerts in the northeastern Colorado, still hanging on to some high wind warnings, very gusty conditions. You really only get high wind warnings if you have a minimum wind gust of 60 miles per hour expected. All right, and obviously sometimes those wind gusts can gust higher than 60 miles per hour. All right, but power outages are certainly likely for that area. in this more intense purple shade here, this darker purple, into portions of southeastern North Dakota, into portions of South Dakota. We have ice storm warnings. So we have been seeing some very substantial ice accumulations on those roadways and structures, and this will continue to be a very impactful ice storm with that travel, guys. It's going to be nuts out there. It's going to be very treacherous, and once again, we already have had pileups, and that's just pretty ridiculous when you're talking about pileups as something that you're going to see on roadways. But if this continues and people are aware of how dangerous these roadways could be, this could really be a pretty terrible morning commute and just getting through the night as well. All right, but into the Pacific Northwest here in the South Central Oregon down towards California. We have another area under a high wind warning, and then gustier winds off the coast where we have those wind advisories. Dense fog advisories going really from down the New England coastline. And let me tell you guys, I actually right now am experiencing some very foggy conditions. All right. And so I actually posted a video about that just a few minutes before I made this one. All right, so I'll put the link down in the comments and the description below. All right, so check that out if you like after this video. But yes, we also do have we have some flood watches here going out for portions of western North Carolina, and then just south of that into portions of the coastal regions of Georgia. We have more dense fog advisories. All right, so we'll move on here to our NAM 3 can model for the North Central United States. All right, so we're talking about your big winter storm, and it doesn't look like much, starting out right here. All right, but this storm will continue to drop a lot of snow. It's just tiny pockets of snow that have been the big issue as for today. Yesterday, we saw more of the widespread heavy snow. Today, it's just pockets of moderate to heavy snow, and then these tinier pockets are just pockets of, light to moderate snowfall. All right, but yes, we are definitely still dealing with the system. It's still here. All right, it's just not as intense and widespread, that snowfall, as it was yesterday. So starting out here, you can see this was pretty much going to be the story around 10 p.m. tonight. Right? Yeah, right now it is about 10 p.m. So we have 3 areas to watch for heavy snow on the backside of the system. This is where all that that snow, that the accumulations with that snow are back here. In with those blizzard conditions into portions of South Dakota, really going all the way down to northeastern Colorado. All this snow is going to continue to rotate around that low pressure center as this moves off to the east. So it's probably going to move into an area that's following that direction. All right. And so we can also see that shield of freezing rain has turned back to mostly rain. Some snow though is definitely possible back here in the northern Minnesota, and then southeastern North Dakota. All right, but you can still see some of the remnants of that shield of freezing rain is still there. So we're still dealing with some ice accumulations, but notice how as this continues to rotate this system, that leftover snow on the backside quickly starts to diminish, and all that we're left with is really this main part down here with cold air aloft. All right, you can see you've got cold air wrapping and rotating into the system. Basically what that means, cold air aloft, is that basically the storm system is slowing down, and it's basically just all the components of the system are associated with cold air, and so you can see it's wrapping and rotating into the system here. All right, so on the backside we still have a lot of heavy snow, but really this stripe here, this impressive stripe of snow ranging from western Illinois to southeastern Iowa. I'm sorry, my ring light turned off. Let me turn it back on here. All right, that's where we can see actually the very, very heavy snow. Apologize about that. All right, but I think that could definitely drop a few inches of snow, really from tonight into tomorrow. But tomorrow morning you could be waking. I mean, I'm not sure if some of you guys are going to be waking up at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, but if I were living in Illinois, I would be waking up to very very heavy snow. Though that some places are really going to get a lot of snow tomorrow morning. This will continue for a few hours, so some light to moderate accumulations are possible as long as the ground is uh, cold enough. All right, but some rainfall still back here into portions of Illinois. All right, so even though we have that cold air aloft, there's still just a little bit of warm air left over. And we look at sounding here just to see what the temperature is, and 39 degrees. So we're getting there. We're not at freezing, quite. We're not at freezing yet. All right, but there is definitely a lot of cold air aloft, and this storm system really it pretty much fizzles out. But it takes a long time. It gets to Thursday, and we still got some different bits and pieces of the system that are left over, and those are just going to be flying out there. But we can actually see getting into Thursday or Friday, I should say. This is the 28th, so I guess this would be. I guess is this Thursday? Because today's the 26th, so today's Tuesday. So no, this would be Thursday. Yeah, so we're getting into Thursday. All right, so now this is Friday here, the 29th. All right, we see this low pressure. We get another low pressure center that tries to take over the remnants of the system, and this pivots actually back over to the west. So now another round of snow for portions of Illinois and Indiana, and then into Iowa and Missouri. So some areas that didn't see snow, that won't see snow on Wednesday and Tuesday, or today into tomorrow, could actually end up seeing snow Thursday into Friday as this low pressure pivots back to the west. So I hope that made sense here. But basically, what's going to happen is we're going to get a secondary low, all right, that's going to develop off to the west, and it's going to pivot back to the west, and it's going to deliver more snow for portions of Illinois, Iowa, and then into Missouri. All right, so this is all going to be happening. That leftover snow, it's going to be coming in Thursday to Friday, but with the rest of the main part of the system here, back to where we are now, today into tomorrow, this entire general region, really, it's going to be hit or miss. If you're in the right spot, all right, really, if you're in this area here, I think you've got a good shot at seeing some snow tonight into tomorrow. And then also, if you're in this area here, all right, it's going to be very brief. All right, so like an hour of snow um, at most. But I think those are the two areas that have the best and highest chance of still seeing snow tomorrow. Then maybe even into Thursday and Friday, could still see a small chance for some snow. All right, so moving over to the GFS here for our current projected snowfall totals. So I just want to say that we've already been dealing with well over half a foot of snow for many areas out here, and some areas getting up to a foot, maybe a little bit more. All right, a lot of areas seeing widespread 1 to 4 inches, really, but more snow is expected. Seeing the GFS, we see that snow on the backside. The GFS is calling for really I would say anywhere from 5 to 8 inches, really for South Dakota into extreme western Nebraska. We could actually see some green shades here. That is around a foot, so maybe another foot of snow potentially is on the way because we started here, um, and uh, we started really from where we are now to just 1 in the morning tonight, and we see right away we get to 8 inches. All right, so some extremely heavy snow is on the way for the backcountry of Nebraska and South Dakota. But then going back to as far out as we go with the system, all right, you can see that really there's when I say hit or miss, that basically tells you that there's just going to be a lot of isolated pockets, or sometimes it can be as big as bands of snowfall that roll through, and so that's why we see like tiny areas like 1, 2, 3, and then 4 areas that just are tiny isolated areas that actually see heavier amounts. All right, but in this general area, definitely 1 to 4 inches, I would say. All right, but out towards eastern portion of these states, For South Dakota and Nebraska, really 1 to 3 inches is expected. But for North Dakota, because of the shaping or the position of the system, that's where you're actually going to see more snow in South Dakota. For southeastern North Dakota, sorry, 2 to 4 inches is what you could be calling for. All right, but yeah, just really going all the way down to Kansas, 1 to 2 inches is really the general amount. But for those areas that are under winter storm warnings or those blizzard warnings, you could definitely see over 4 inches of snow from now on to really the rest of the duration of the system. All right, but then moving on here into the Midwest, where we see that signal for that backside snow with that secondary low forming. We actually the GFS is calling for 1 to 4 inches maybe, and in that same area of Illinois and into southeastern Iowa, we actually see 2 to 4 inches possible. All right, so that's definitely a substantial signal that we're seeing there. All right, and I definitely do think that those areas into Thursday and Friday are going to pick up a few inches of snow. The GFS is also calling for this similar amounts as far west as central Missouri. All right, so even in the St. Louis area, we can see 1 to 3 inches, maybe 1 to 4 inches. All right, but the GFS is showing 1 to 3 inches or 1 to 4 inches for really the entire state of Missouri. All right, so for the entire general area, all right, 1 to 2 inches is a good amount, but it's really specific areas that we're talking about here, and so that's why I'm just going down the line. All right, just talking about these specific areas, and then into portions of Wisconsin, and then the UP of Michigan, northern Michigan, and then northern Minnesota. Really, 1 to 3 inches is what you could expect. But some areas will most likely stay as rain or freezing rain. All right. So moving on to our ice accumulations or ice totals, I guess you could say. All right. So the ice storm has started to, the worst of it has definitely departed from us. All right, but we're still going to be talking about pretty substantial ice accumulations still left. Maybe around 1/4 of an inch is possible now. And now up till Friday here in the portions of southeastern North Dakota. I'm not saying it's going to take till Friday for this for the freezing rain to move out of the region. I'm just saying this is going all the way out to around Friday. All right. But this entire stripe of pink is where you could definitely see, 1/10 of an inch of ice. That's certainly possible. And basically, how to measure ice. What you do is you find a flat surface that the ice has accumulated on, and you take uh, you take the highest amount of ice on that surface because ice it accumulates unevenly. All right, and so you take a ruler and you start from where the top of the surface is to where the top of the ice is, and basically that's your measurement here. And so, if you guys want to measure the ice, and please, I would love it if you let me know down in the comments what you got. Just leave your area next to your total. That'd be really cool to see how much ice we're seeing out there. All right, but yes, definitely a lot of a lot of freezing rain is expected to come down even farther out into Wednesday tomorrow. And as the system begins to move out, all right. But this is not look. This is looking nothing like what we saw yesterday. Where yesterday we saw ice accumulations over an inch here, and we're probably gonna top off at around 1/4 of an inch for somebody out here in southeastern North Dakota. All right. So taking a look here at your current power outage map. All right, so starting out here in North Dakota, right off the bat, you can see that we are actually highlighting this in yellow because there right now are 17,130 customers without power. So we are actually seeing some pretty widespread power outages here in North Dakota. I think this is a glitch, all right, but right now, supposedly South Dakota is only with 7 customers out. So either those electricity companies are doing a great job keeping everyone with power, or this is just a glitch here in this website. All right. But you can see in Minnesota we have a decent amount, 788 people without power. But yes, I think these power outages will continue to climb here before the system completely moves out. And so we can actually even see into Indiana, places farther off to the east. We're actually starting to see some more people without power into Ohio, Indiana. Indiana actually is over 3,000 at the moment. But you can already see that really the impacts are spreading out, and you can just see it based off of the power outage map here. All right, so moving over to the NAM 3 kilometer model for the northeastern U.S., we're taking a look at what we can expect with the system as it moves into your area. All right, so part of the system has broken off, and it's formed its own pop-off low here on the coast, and that low is going to continue to strengthen and organize as the system moves up into the northeast ahead of that cold front. All right, and so we take this out uh, to basically the rest of the night. We start out with some localized showers here. All right, just some rain showers. Uh, and we are right now we're in a very very warm environment. We're very very foggy. We're very very wet. All right, and we're in a very very warm environment. But you can see a big band of showers are moving their way through really the interior northeast as we get throughout tonight and then into very early tomorrow morning. That's when we start to see the heavier rain. Some thunderstorms, I don't want to say much about these thunderstorms. It's at most it's going to be a rumble of thunder, maybe a lightning flash. All right, but that is it. Otherwise, it's just going to be tiny pockets of heavy rainfall that are going to be moving through, really coming up from the mid Atlantic, but also out towards Ohio, eastern Ohio. We can actually see those pockets of heavy rain as this low continues to move up the coast. All right, and this rain actually starts to get a little bit heavier as we're getting into the evening hours of tomorrow. Then we're getting about 6 p.m. And at this point, we've got very heavy rainfall moving through Delmarva with some thunderstorms. I'm pretty sure that these will be thunderstorms. But again, really just a few rumbles of thunder and maybe a little bit of lightning. No crazy lightning strikes, no damaging wind gusts, just a flash of lightning and a rumble of thunder with these storms. Uh, but otherwise, it'll just be some tiny pockets of heavy rain again. All right, but as this moves through, uh, it's looking like an all rain event. All right, as this band continues to move through, we're getting to the middle of the night tomorrow night, and these thunderstorms and pockets of rainfall have at this point moved their way to the coastline. Now we see very heavy rain move through Long Island, middle of the night tomorrow into Thursday. All right, but you can actually see at some point we actually do see some freezing rain, a line of freezing rain start to develop on the north side of the system, only up towards Maine. By where that 32-degree line is and where that warm front and the cold front meet. All right, before the system starts to move out, and then that cold front moves in. All right, but you still got leftover precipitation on the backside as that low pressure uh, it's moving back. So it's almost like these two systems both are trying to move back and give a little bit more rainfall or whatever form of precipitation it is to those areas that just got hit. We actually see more freezing rain and actually some snow now starting to impact portions of Maine and then the New England coastline again as we get into Friday and then eventually Saturday. All right, so looking at your rainfall totals, as far as rainfall totals goes, I don't think it's going to be that bad. You saw that had very heavy rainfall, so that could definitely lead to some minor flooding. All right, in some of these areas along the coast, but nothing special here. Really, 1 to 2 inches is expected. But in this purple shade, this pink and purple shade, going really from just up north of Long Island, maybe the southern coast of Connecticut, all the way down to North Carolina and Virginia is where we could see maybe up to 2, maybe 3 inches of rain at most. All right, but really everybody's going to be seeing 1 to 2 inches with maybe some locally higher amounts possible. All right, so I wouldn't expect that much flooding. I don't think that this is really going to cause any big issues other than just a wet weekend, a wet week, I should say, and just a wet few days coming up. All right, and that's going to bring us to our final portion of the update. All right, so we're going to be talking about this big pattern flip. all right, that everyone's been talking about. You've heard probably on the news or you've seen on YouTube. Everybody is going nuts about this big pattern flip. Everybody is now watching weather updates again, so many people are getting a lot of views. All right, but why is this all happening? Why is the hype getting so big right now? Well, it's just simply because of this big ridge. All right, there's a ridge going on right now into portions of Canada, and when you have a ridge up into Canada, as far north as Canada, that all that means that you're gonna get low pressure, which means you're gonna get storminess, and you're gonna get cold air that's gonna replace all that warm air and high pressure. All right, in the United States. All right, and so that's what we're looking at here on the European model. All right, so this blue line here is your jet stream pattern. You can see that we're already starting to deal with a little bit of a dip in the jet stream, but it's starting up here into Canada. And this is basically our jet stream pattern. And these warmer colors, these reds, these oranges, and these browns. All right, this is what we call ridging, which is high pressure. And usually, when you see a ridge, you usually are dealing with also areas of above average temperatures, and then in these colder temperatures shades here, all right, in these blues and then sometimes in these greens and purples, that's where we have low pressure, which basically calls for storminess, and usually that also is associated with below average temperatures. So look, as we put this in motion, all right, this ridge is starting to really get going out there into portions of Canada, and what we're dealing with is we're seeing surging warmth. Um, Pretty much, it's pushing up on the jet stream, and that is already causing the jet stream to be active. And an active jet stream is one big factor in having storminess. So here comes your trough. All right, that is basically another word for what we're calling with our storm system. All right, that moves through the United States. All right, but look how this ridge really it gets going here into Canada, but it's so big that it's stretching into portions of the western United States. All right, and so after that trough kind of falls back down, here we go. We get a big dip in the jet stream, so that's going to allow for big cool down in the northeastern U.S. That's that polar vortex, a term that you've probably heard in many other weather updates, is now able to spill into the northeastern U.S. All right, so at this point, we're getting into Friday. Um, and it's 114 hours out, so not that far out. All right, but at this point, we've got a big dip in the jet stream, and we've got a big trough that's moving over the eastern United States. All right, so at this point, we've got a pretty good setup for a nor'easter because we have an amplified jet stream here, a Pacific jet stream moving like that, and then we also do have a huge ridge here that's pushing up into Canada. All right, and that basically calls for a big dip in the jet stream to fall over here in the eastern U.S. And so basically, this pattern is favorable for big time snowstorms in not only the Northeast but really the eastern U.S. in general. I think if we hang on to this pattern, could see a lot of big snowstorms. But usually after this, we get we go back to a usually after this happens we go back to that old pattern here where we have uh we basically just have a ridge that decides that it's flattening out here in a portion of Canada, and then we have low pressure and troughing in the United States. But no, we get another ridge that starts to push up. It's not flattening out, it's actually pushing up in surging into portions of Canada, but this is very far west. All right, so that's going to allow for a more extensive dip in the jet stream somewhere in an area like here, and that is more widespread in the eastern and then eventually maybe the central U.S. All right, and so a ridge in Canada just means basically cooler temperatures in stock for the eastern United States. And so that's what we see here. We see this Pacific jet stream become very amplified as we get rounds and rounds of storminess and this big dip in the jet stream, this big ridge going on here that's starting to flatten out, but it's flattening out over portions of Western Canada. All right, and so that is leaving plenty of room for the jet stream to dip here in the portions of the eastern United States. And so this is a great pattern here for snowfall, a big time snowstorm to happen really anywhere in this area. I even think down near the Gulf Coast, we could actually be dealing with, maybe an inch or two of snow out to however far this goes. I think this is January 3rd. All right. But yes, we still see that ridge. We're still hanging on to that ridge here, into Canada, and then this is the polar vortex here. All right, that's basically this is the top of the globe, and you can see that at this point, it's got a clear path to spill, right into the eastern U.S. It could really flow like this, on top of the jet stream. The jet stream is basically what's happening here is basically, in easier words, the jet stream is opening up for the polar vortex to spill into the eastern U.S. And that's why we have such a big risk for some snowstorms in the future, because we're going to have the cold air and it's going to be sticking with us for a while. All right, and we're going to start to see storminess simply because you're seeing a lot of troughing going on, which is signifying low pressure. All right, so I hope I explained that in the best way possible so you guys can understand that. And we look at what the signal is on the GFS for storminess. All right, and let me tell you guys, it's been looking active lately. All right, but today's runs of the GFS haven't shown as much, excitement with our storm systems, but rather with our temperature anomalies, it's been getting more exciting. So when is your first system after this one moves out? Well, it takes to January 1st, where me and a few others are watching a signal for a storm system right around New Year's. This is January 1st, 1 p.m. All right, and we have a weak piece of energy that's starting to bring snow to portions of the Ohio Valley, and it's bringing mostly rain, but it's meeting up with a pretty big cool down and big deep in the jet stream going all the way down to the Carolinas. That forms a pop off low off the coast of the Northeast. But it doesn't turn that backside rain to snow. All right, but that is a nor'easter threat for sure. That wouldn't be a typical nor'easter setup that would bring a lot of snow. All right, but yeah, that's certainly that is definitely a signal for a storm system in the Northeast. We still need to figure this out because it's pretty far out. All right, but we're watching this. All right, and this any signal here of a storm. All right, is a chance for a snowstorm because you're just gonna see round after round of cold air and cold blasts that come down from Canada here. So that's why any of these storms could actually end up bringing a lot of snow to some areas. But we get another Gulf we get another system, but this one is down here in the Gulf, and that rides up the Pacific jet stream and moves up into the Northeast, and it gets flattened out here by this cold air because you've got very cold and dry air coming down from Canada, and this is flattening the jet stream out a little bit. All right, and so that's basically just going to keep the system farther south. All right. And so at this point, all right, that ridge is still up into Canada, so you still got some troughing going on here. But the reason why the system isn't moving up to the north because it can't really. Systems don't move way out in the cold fronts; they ride the jet stream. So the jet stream is it's connecting the colder and the warm air meet all the way down here in the Carolinas. So that's why this doesn't go all the way up into the Northeast. All right. It also does look like things will get active here on the Pacific coastline on the West Coast as we get into January. So hoping that we won't see another atmospheric river like last winter. All right, but I do think it will get active as well for the West Coast. So east to west, we're going to see very active conditions into January. But at this point, we're very far out, so every model run that comes out changes this far out. But we're getting to January 8th, and we get a storm system here, a storm signal. All right, and we see very heavy snow impact portions of the upper Midwest, and then some rainfall on the south side of this, and then this continues to move into the Northeast, and this becomes a very major winter storm system, and we've got just cold air continuing to pour in to the northern U.S. And man, this is really when winter is just going to unlock its fury and it's all because of that ridge into Canada. If we didn't have that ridge, we wouldn't have the cold air. All right, but I'm telling you guys, if we actually can unlock that polar vortex, it's just going to continue to batter us with cold air, and people are going to start complaining about how cold it is right after we get through this pattern flip. Because it's going to go from being very, very warm. You can see right now it's 44 degrees here, and I'm in Western Long Island. Right now it should be in the 30s, and we're in the 40s. Today's high was 55 degrees. All right, probably next week it's going to be in the 30s, and then maybe and then into the beginning of January it's going to be in the 20s before you know. All right. But yeah, we see a very major system with this as it moves into the northeast. That's a cross country storm right there. All right. But yes, we end off this run here with a big storm signal. But if we look at the 18Z of yesterday too, you could see the storm signal still there. All right, and also for that storm near New Year's, here it is. It's just later into the new year, and it's also farther south. All right, but that signal is still there, um, and we still see those cold blasts come down. So now we're getting repetitive um, agreement here on a very active pattern coming up, and we look at the temperature anomalies here. We could see starting out right now, ending off December, we end very warm, all right? But here comes that cold. We just see pockets and outbursts of cold starting to open up here, and then when does that extreme cold come in? Well, it comes in farther into January. I'm watching past January 5th. I think that is when we could actually see maybe the coldest air of the year. All right, start to come down from Canada, and man, I mean, at this point, the entire United States is going to be below average here. It's crazy. It's look at this. We're at 20 to 30 degrees below our historical average, and yeah, I mean, after that, all hell breaks loose. But I mean, look at this massive cold blast. I mean, this is just incredible, guys. This is really winter at its best here, and this is right around January 10th. So this is very far out. All right, this will change, but this quite possibly could be like what we're gonna basically this could be pretty similar to what the actual setup will be right around this time frame. So for the last part of the update, we look at current projected snowfall totals out to January 11th by the GFS model, and the snow signal has gotten farther. It's ticking farther south, and that is always a good sign for snow lovers here. And so I'll draw the line of areas that will see that might see snow and might not see snow based off of the latest GFS front, and it's right there, very far south. All right, but there's that heavy snow here signal showing up in the upper Midwest. A foot of snow, maybe a little bit over. In the Northeast and the Appalachian Mountains, we see a very active storm signal. That's mainly from that last storm that we saw. But yeah, any snow signal is very important in winter. All right. But look at the Western U.S. Mountainous regions, upper elevations, very, very active times are coming up, right? So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. I will see you guys in the next video. So stay tuned, guys. I'm going to get a lot of videos. I hope I can get a lot of videos on this big pattern change before this happens here, because I really do think, I have a gut feeling that that we are going to see at least one major, and when I say major, I say big winter storm system that is going to bring snow, all right, to portions of the United States sometime around New Year's, and then past New Year's. We're going to start to see very cold air come down from the polar vortex as that ridge continues to move up into Canada and then into Western Canada, really just completely opening the gates to winter. So I hope that all this information was helpful, and I will continue to, once again, I will continue to pump out these videos for you guys. So thank you so much for coming to watch, and I'll see you guys next